carrier?
I think your point is absolutely right, whether it's about whether they can compete in short haul, because at the end of the day, Air France is an airline which has what I would call a demand aggregation model. It brings traffic across Paris principally to feed onto medium haul and long haul services. Two things. One, it needs to get the cost of that short and low cost short haul feed down. And secondly, if it's going to grow, it's not going to grow it with the existing short haul operation. And we can see that elsewhere in other airlines in Europe as well.
So what should management do here? It's got a legacy model that hasn't got a great deal of future and certainly isn't going to grow a great deal. It's got pilots that say that they won't tolerate some of their colleagues being put onto different contracts at Transavia. How do we get some sort of meeting of minds here?
Well, it's exceptionally difficult, and I was speaking with a group of senior airline managers the other week, and I raised exactly this question about how do you effect change? How does management exercise almost its right to manage? We know there's a cost associated with it, and the view of the meeting really was that there needs to be an event. Now, obviously in the US you have Chapter 11, which facilitates change. In Europe we don't have that. And whether it's a question of precipice management where there's a recognition that they have to make that change, it's this way or there's no future for the business, and that will take a long time in France, and we've seen it over the past 20, 30 years, that has been the case. But the reality is that the world has changed. Short-haul growth in Europe is coming only from low-cost carriers, whether as standalones, as you mentioned, Ryanair and EasyJet, or airlines that are now within airlines, so dwelling within IAG, which has got a growth strategy and very clear destination in terms of having a fleet of probably 200 aircraft.
Chris, are you suggesting that if Chapter 11 was available to Air France management, that would probably be the best route they could go down?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just suggesting that that's something which the US carriers have been able to use. But in Europe, we've seen many times before, whether it's Aer Lingus or whatever, whether it's SAS getting agreement to make the change, in that case particularly to enable the financing to be put in place. It's an issue. It's a fundamental issue. Airlines management, despite everything, or a lot of airline managers, despite everything, in a relatively weak balance in the balance of power with all suppliers. And that's external suppliers as well as internal suppliers. And in this case here, that's exactly the point you make. It's where Air France is going to grow in the short-haul business. The other issue is about the long-haul business, because you're seeing fundamental changes in the catchment areas for long-haul traffic. And that's, for example, what the Gulf airlines are doing in North America, increasing presence, so they fly traffic over Europe, so it doesn't connect in European cities.
Yep.
So they fly over Europe to the Gulf to fly into the Indian subcontinent or beyond. So there's a fundamental change in the operating environment, both short-haul and also long-haul.
And then we may be talking about low-cost long-haul as well, being part and parcel of the market in a few years' time if Norwegian
You're right.
have got the...
We're beginning to see it. We're already seeing it with Norwegian. And if we look at it, the majority of long-haul growth from what I would call the emerging or economies in Europe, or the ascendant economies, whatever you want, is going to come from decisions taken by airlines in that region. Furthermore, we're seeing the benefit of new equipment, whether the 787, the A350, or the 330neo now. And whether it's Norwegian outbound from Europe or others inbound, that's where it's going. And we've seen Lufthansa announce that it is looking not just at low-cost short-haul under its single platform, the Wings platform, where it's got German wings, bring in Euro wings, but also a long-haul one where it says it needs that for leisure point-to-point to be able to compete with the Gulf carriers.